Joe Hockey, thanks for your time. There's something really strange about the way Joe Biden announced he was stepping down. It sort of, in a way, came out of the blue. We knew it was probably going to happen at some stage, but in the morning he was being defended, it was all okay, defiance from the White House, and suddenly, bang, at about 1:30 in the afternoon, a tweet, a statement, no press other than that. Joe Biden hasn't appeared. He didn't make a TV announcement, nothing. It just seems so abrupt. That's weird.
Well, it was a last-minute decision, contrary to some of the speculation that's been around. This morning, Joe Biden was still very much determined to run, and so much so that one of his closest supporters, the head of the Black Caucus, Jim Clyburn, was out defending him. But a couple of things happened today that apparently changed his mind. One was a disastrous poll in Michigan, 6 points behind. And the second was that he was warned that there were more than 100 Democrat senators and congressmen that were about to come out over the next few days calling on him not to run. And frankly, he'd had enough. I'm told by an extremely reliable source, and multiple sources now, that even Kamala Harris only found out 5 minutes before the statement went out. So it was a rushed decision, but obviously he'd been thinking personally about it for a little while.
Now, Kamala Harris, the support seems to be locking in behind her, people coming out endorsing her. Joe Biden himself did, the Clintons did. Although, interestingly enough, Barack Obama has not. He is just saying, leave it to the party processes, nor of the heads of the Democrat heads of Senate and Congress. But I don't know, it seems that it's Kamala Harris's really almost to win now. What do you think that'll mean for Donald Trump?
Well, there's a couple of things there to go through first. The first is Kamala Harris will be the candidate. Of the delegates going to the convention, more than 40% are African American and 56% are women. And that will lock in, combined with the various caucuses, lock in the support for Kamala Harris. So, it's lay down misère. The second thing is, I'm told that they will be proceeding with a ballot well before the convention, probably at the beginning of August, a virtual ballot of all the delegates to lock in Kamala's endorsement. And then the real issue now is the Democrats are all lobbying to see who is going to be her running mate. And the question will be whether they have a governor from important swing states, be they Pennsylvania or a number of other states, or whether they go with someone who is perhaps more of a military background. It will be a man, I'm told, but a military background, because at the moment the Democrats are polling 23% behind the Republicans with men, with white men in particular. So it's really now about getting the right mix for the vice presidential candidate.
Except, of course, I don't think vice presidential candidates make that much of a difference. It's going to really be her versus Trump. Now, she's got a reputation of being an airhead, a giggler. She failed on the border, which was the one job that Joe Biden gave her. Is this a problem for Donald Trump?
Well, it's going to make the race much more competitive. I mean, Donald Trump is constantly sitting around 46% vote. And what was happening was that the Democrats, with all the infighting, were bleeding enthusiasm. And so now this has given the Democrats a lot of enthusiasm. I mean, there's a real energy amongst the Democrats today and a sense of relief that they can go forward with another candidate. So it is going to be a very competitive race. And there's 106 days to go. There could be a myriad of international events that occur that could cause a twist and a turn in the election campaign. There will be gaffes, there will be mistakes. I think it's going to be a lot closer, because at the end of the day, it's coming down to just 800,000 people in 4 states.
And lastly, the way you describe it, Joe Hockey, so Joe Biden wakes up in the morning, he's still going to fight, tells his friends he's going to fight. and then suddenly it all gets too much, right? People are praising him for his patriotism in putting the nation, his party, above himself. But seriously, this guy was blasted out, wasn't he?
Well, at the end of the day, he was, because, you know, as you and I have discussed before, Andrew, people don't willingly give up power. The last time it happened was Lyndon Johnson here in the United States, who decided not to run at the last minute. And that last minute was, in fact, well before this point in the electoral cycle back in the late 60s. So it's uncharted territory, this. And Joe Biden has been a fighter all his life. One of the interesting stats is that this is the first presidential, vice presidential election in nearly 50 years when you haven't had a Bush, a Biden or a Clinton on one of the tickets. This is the first time in nearly 50 years, and since 1976. So that name recognition of the Bushes, the Bidens, the Clintons, that is worth a lot in a country that relies on voluntary voting. And so we are now going into a whole new era in American politics. This is a changing of the guard, and the Bushes, the Bidens and the Clintons are for the first time in nearly 50 years not on a presidential or vice presidential ticket.
Well, the Democrats are making a lot about this changing the guard, the passing on of the torch and all that, and making the point that here's Kamala Harris, 59. Now the oldest person in the race is Donald Trump at 78. But the point is, the difficulty for the Democrats here, surely, Joe Hockey, is this. Yes, they've got the new generation candidate, but they've got one that's pushing the old Joe Biden policies. That's the problem. It's a new candidate, but the old agenda. They really might, you know, in a perfect world, they would have a new candidate with a new agenda. They don't have that.
Well, this is a test for Kamala Harris. Will she have her own agenda? I suspect she will. She'll try and present a new agenda, but there's no way she can just abandon all the things that the Biden administration has done, because she was the vice president. She was the running mate. And frankly, the agenda that Biden has rolled out is what has held together the Black Caucus, has held together Bernie Sanders and AOC and the left wing of the party. They've been part of it. The Democrats have, in the main, been actually pretty disciplined. And you know, when Bernie Sanders says that Joe Biden's been the best president in many, many years, then you can be sure that the agenda was pretty left-wing. And so now Kamala Harris is going to try and protect that, but she has to reach out. She has to reach out to the middle ground and try and get young people particularly enthused about her candidacy.
Joe Hockey, great to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.